Hey, AP US history students and other history students. This is Mr. Baker. This is Baker's Corner in Baker's Backyard. I hope you are doing well. This will be a quick session on basically how to do a writing of a form of an SAQ that is not stimulus based. And so let's go ahead and get started. The SAQ, what basically is an SAQ? Well, in a sense, what an SAQ is kind of like a miniature essay that you have limited space to write, which is usually about the equivalent of a front page of a loosely piece of paper. And it requires you to write either a short paragraph or short, miniature things that can easily make up a paragraph. The College Board suggests that you actually break your answers into an A, B, and C format to, one, make sure that you're addressing all parts of the question, and two, that you are organizing it for your reader. Give your reader some love here, right, as they would say, because it does make it easier to basically do, although we are trained to read from start to finish, okay? We properly need to annotate with evidence to show understanding of a historical time period or a trend of some sort, right? So you're going to see short answer questions from anywhere from time period 1 through time period 9, okay? And so and there are 3 different kinds. You've got the first kind that is based off of some kind of historian argument or arguments. So you have to analyze what the different historians say about causes and different reasons for certain trends. Could be the Civil War interpretation or interpretation of what really led to the Cold War or something like that. So that's going to be the first kind that you will see. That will not be the kind of practice that we do in our first sample here. You have visual-based analysis, which is based off of some kind of chart or graph or political cartoon that you have to literally take some kind of historical evidence that's visual, a source that's visual, and then you have to actually show usually some kind of point of view or something along those lines. And again, you have to use a certain framework of evidence and so forth. Historical evidence questions that are not stimulus-based. There are 2 of these that will appear on every exam unless they modify it, and you will pick one of the 2. So you're usually in pretty good shape. If you have a pretty good, let's say, working knowledge of most things, those ones, and really any of them, I would say in some ways, most students can probably do reasonably well, at least with getting points there, okay? They are divided into 3 tasks. We'll look at that more in a second. And so the basic steps in answering an SAQ: read instructions carefully, okay? Really make sure, okay, answer all 3 parts, right? That kind of thing. That's pretty nuts and bolts there. But it's where the next part I think becomes important. Read and annotate each part of the question, and you want to look at each one of these as separate tasks. Okay, which is why I think the College Board and many AP teachers, myself included, do suggest to you that you break these answers into A, B, and C. And the value of annotating is that as you are reading it, first of all, you're paying close attention to what the question is really asking you. And then the second thing that you're doing is that you're paying attention really to, okay, what evidence could I use? So you're kind of killing 2 birds with 1 stone, as saying goes, where you're like, okay, well, I know what it asked me, and I'm going to try to create evidence as best I can, okay? And then lastly, respond and support with at least 2 historical facts, okay? But keep in mind, you do not have unlimited space to write your SAQ answers. It has to stay within a very confined box of space with lines that the College Board will give you to actually do your writing on, at least when it's a typical paper and pencil exam, okay? And remember, when we're talking about describing, we're talking about using details that illustrate historical facts, okay? So we're not just fact dropping, we had the conquistadores that came, that's not really a complete use of factual evidence. They were hired by the Spanish or whatever it might be. They had ambitions to expand Christianity and particularly Roman Catholicism to the New World. And there were also some economic ambitions with eventually, affecting mining with gold, silver, etc. Okay, those are things that, again, 2 or 3 well-stated things is usually going to earn you that point, but you want to make sure that, again, you don't just fact drop. What is the ACE method of basically approaching this? Well, this is not unique to me, but this is something that's suggested by the College Board and other resources. But what ACE stands for is answer, cite, and explain. Answer means to state and make a claim. So you are making a historical claim when in fact you answer a question. Again, it's kind of like a miniature essay that you're trying to basically show with, limited time and evidence that you basically can make a claim. Okay? Cite, again, using evidence. Use historical terms. One of my college professors used to say that we need to use 10-cent words. And what he means by that, for the most part, is valuable pieces of evidence. In other words, do not leave it up to your reader to interpret what you actually want to say. You want to say it instead. Okay? So I think that's important to keep in mind. Again, using 2 pieces of outside evidence, but those pieces do you no good if they're not explained within how you're trying to defend your position. Thirdly, explain, which is the third of the ACE, means how to show how your evidence proves your claim. I like to call this the so what connection. Okay, use your evidence purposeful. Okay, so the question asks you, to describe a similarity between, let's say, 2 different regions of British colonial America, which there have been those on the last on past exams, and all you say is, one region had a focus on tobacco farming and another one had a focus on more subsistence farming or something. You haven't described, okay, which region is it? How does that basically play into, maybe geographic effects or whatever, or shall we say how geography affects the settlements? Okay, again, not much time and space to do these, but you got to make that clear and purposeful, and you might go into detail about how that produced a change in labor systems, in fact, if the question asks you that. Okay, so how might you practice the ACE method? It is suggested by the College Board that you take about 12 minutes. You'll have 4 of these questions, 1 of 2 with the kind of this, and then you'll have the other 2 that are mandatory. So you're looking at about a 40-minute period of time to do all 3. I like to start off students with timing them with 15 minutes. So they're trying to get down a process of reading, et cetera, et cetera. But let's take a few minutes to actually break down this prompt together. And then for those of you that are actually watching this video and you actually want to do it on your own, if you're not in the session, which if you're watching this, you probably aren't, what you can do is under Canvas, under supplemental content, there's actually a little page there that actually gives you all the scoring guidelines that we're going to walk through. In other words, a rubric. Okay, so look what it says. Read and break down the 3 parts of the following short answer question by annotating for time, place, task, and topic. Okay, so again, ACE, you want to use that. Then write a 1-paragraph response that fully addresses the prompt. I didn't put this in there, but labeling it A, B, and C. You can answer those in whatever order you want. All right, it is not a deal breaker if you do C, A, and B, B, A, and C, or of course, A, B, and C is probably the best thing to do, okay? So keep in mind, your grader or your scorer, or whatever you want to call it, the reader, is trained to look for certain things within those A, B's, and C's. They are not looking for the A to always be first, okay? So briefly describe one specific historical similarity in the economies of 2 American Indian groups. B, briefly describe another historical similarity in the economies of two Native American groups. And C, American Indian group, excuse me. And C, briefly describe one specific historical difference in the societies of two American Indian groups. Now, I'm going to give you a little bit of guidance on this. If you're thinking, okay, I'm just going to compare the Aztecs and the Incas, that's not really what this question is wanting you to do. Okay, this question is really wanting you to focus your attention more on the Native American Indian tribes that we would have seen in more the northern part of North America or North America. So you're looking at like Pueblo, et cetera, et cetera. Okay. Now, of course, the College Board is not going to tell you that, because I can guarantee you there's probably people that wrote on this question that used those larger Native American civilizations, right? And they thought they nailed it, and they were in fact off task. Okay. So that's where reading the questions carefully comes into it. Okay. I'm going to leave you all there. If you want to pause this, I would put a self timer, 15 minutes. Again, it's practice. We're going to go through this if you're in the session. If you're not, again, I would check your work, see what the College Board said or the resource said about what would an A and B answer. The one thing, guys, you'll notice in this particular example, and I'll end with this, is that a lot of the things that you'll see for A and B, you know, they're going to be on the rubric. So if you use something that's in one category, you know, you're obviously going to have to use something different for letter B, right? So what they're really trying to get you to do is, okay, I know more evidence about what was a similarity rather than simply, you know, mentioning, you know, one thing. All right, so they're testing the depth of your knowledge to an extent within a small amount of time and space for you to share an idea. This is Mr. Baker. If you have any questions, please feel free to email me at bakerd@franklinacademy.org. This is Baker's Corner. Hope you are safe. And if there is anything that I can do further, please don't hesitate to contact me. And I will look forward to seeing you all soon. Take care and have a good one.